Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with a still existing box of stuff, which I've been hunting around and playing with recently. It is this, the Vladimir Ashkenazy Concerto box. This contains, 46 CDs and 2 bonus DVDs, and a lot of stuff. Now, Ashkenazy is one of those artists who has done so much over the years that we tend to take him for granted. It's interesting that Decca has released a box of, he's been in all kinds of stuff. There was the Ashkenazy's Choice Favorite Recordings box, and then there was the box of chamber music plus selected solo things. And then there's this, the concerto box, and coming soon, and if you're watching this in the year, 2761, it's already out, there is going to be the complete Ashkenazy solo piano box. There has not been an Ashkenazy conductor box, which I find interesting, actually, because the fact of the matter is he has not really been as great a conductor as he has been a piano soloist, although he has been a very, very good conductor quite often, as often as not. But, the fact of the matter is, looking at this box, these 46 CDs, there is a lot of redundancy built in here. There really is. And aside from that, he hasn't been sort of crazy adventurous in his selection of repertoire. He's done sort of the same stuff, the basic romantic repertoire, beginning with Mozart and, Beethoven, and then worked his way through a few Rachmaninoff cycles and a few Beethoven cycles and some Brahms, and, that's it. And so whether you want 46 CDs of this stuff is really going to depend on the extent to which you are an Ashkenazy fan and you want to hear him do the same thing over and over again. That was my impression in going through this again after letting it sort of percolate and ferment for a while. But it's a nice box. Look at it. It's big. It's blue. There's nothing not to like. Let's open it here. It's one of those, boxes of doom. This thing slides off, and you get, let's see, got an itch there. All right. Okay, you get this lovely, lovely little hardback book, and then the actual CDs are in these paper folded things, which in collections which have more than 2 CDs can be quite irritating. To extract that middle CD, you may need one of my CD extractor devices to get them out without damaging them. And oh, look, please kindly note that the Mozart concerti on CD 26 appear in the following order. Yes, because I got the order wrong, but at least they tell us. That was nice of them. CDs, let's see, you get 21 and 17. But we can go through this rather quickly because, like I said, there's a lot of redundancy. And let's see what's in here, shall we? We have the list, box, contents list by composer. And then we have the actual track list, which I think I'd rather look at. CD 1, you ready? Are you ready? Oh, and these are all, by the way, you're going to want to know this because people care about these things. Original jackets. And so the original jackets are nice to have if that's the kind of thing you're up for. So there we go. Let me put this down. And now we're going to go with this. At least you get a booklet that tells you what's in the box. That's a good thing. So we get, Rachmaninoff Piano Concerto number 3. These are done chronologically in the order in which they were recorded. So that was from 1963, hard as it may be to believe, with Anatole Fistulari. It's a really great Rachmaninoff Third Piano Concerto. Everybody has always thought so. And the Tchaik 1 with Mazel and the London Symphony. And then Rachmaninoff Piano Concerto number 2 and 3 Etudes Tableau with Kirill Kondrashin and the Moscow Philharmonic. Another wonderful performance. Generally speaking, and, I hate to generalize. Oh, I'd love to generalize. Ashkenazy's early stuff is better than his later stuff. but not always. You can't totally generalize, but these earlier performances have a liveliness and freshness and a certain, partly because of the conductors he's partnered with, that the later stuff doesn't always match. Some may disagree. I know some may disagree. We're already up to CD4, Bach Keyboard Concerto number 1, BWV 1062 in D minor, which of course wasn't the first. God knows what it really was. Chopin's second concerto with David Zinman is doing this in the London Symphony. David Zinman in 1965. Oh my, look, you get a photo of them. They're children. They're just little kitties. Oh my God, can you believe it? I mean, it's unbelievable. They're still around. I mean, that's really something when you think about it. 1963, this is 2022. It's going to be 2023, one of these months. So let's just round up. That's 60 years. Isn't that extraordinary? I mean, he really has. Ashkenazy and David Zinman have had amazing careers. Amazing careers. Brahms number 2 with the London Symphony and Zubin Mehta. I don't think anybody's been terribly excited about that performance, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. And then we got the Mozarts. Lots and lots of Mozart. No, the beginning of the Mozarts with the London Symphony and Istvan Kertész, because he remade some of these. It's number 8, Piano Concerto number 8, number 9, and the Rondo for Piano and Orchestra in A major, Koelschel 386. And then we have Piano Concerto 20 and Piano Concerto number 6 with Schmidt-Isserstedt and the London Symphony. I mean, these are people don't think about these or talk about them very much. So these first 7 CDs, I would call the early Ashkenazy miscellany, because now we're starting to get into they did series of things. And some of these series were very, very good. You've got the Rachmaninoff series, the Rachmaninoff stuff with the London Symphony and Andrei Previn, which is better than his later Rachmaninoff series, but not necessarily better in his versions of Concertos 2 and 3. So, but it's very good. I mean, it's very, very good. His standard was quite high. So it's you don't want to simply dismiss what he did and just say, oh gosh, here it is again. But on the other hand, here it is again. Then you've got the Scriab and Piano Concerto. This is with Lauren Mazel and the London Philharmonic, and Prometheus, the Poem of Fire, which is awfully nice to have. This is a great Scriabin concerto. It's really one of the best ones out there. It was the go-to reference recording for a bazillion years, and it still is in many ways. It's very, very good. And then we've got his first Beethoven Cycle with Schulte. And I've always liked this Beethoven Cycle very, very much. There's rumors that they didn't get along and all of this stuff. I hate backstory stories as opposed to actually listening to the performances. I mean, it could be they despised each other. It could be the sessions were fraught with tempestuous hysteria and tempers and music things flying around and cursing, and who cares? If it sounds great, it's fine with me. However they get there, all I care about is the end result. And you should too, frankly. I don't see any virtue in talking about these little backstory foolishnesses. Okay, then we've got the Prokofiev cycle. We also get the overture on Hebrew themes and autumnal, whatever that is. Yes, Opus 8. And yes, all the 5 Prokofiev piano concertos. This is also with the London Symphony and Andrei Previn. These are very, very good. They're just very good. Are they my favorites in these pieces? No, they aren't. But I can listen to them with great pleasure and appreciate them for what they are. And that's all there is to it. I mean, for the third concerto, there's 7 trillion alternatives. And now there's even more alternatives for the second concerto. It used to be, back in the day, when we were all kids as well, that if you wanted to hear concerto number 2 or concerto number 5, you had Richter on DG, or, for the second, there really wasn't much of anything. And these were your go-to versions because they were just solid, reliable, very well played, well recorded. It's good stuff, and it still is. So, it's not really fair to dismiss it now because there have been 30 trillion recordings since, because the artistic values that Ashkenazy upheld are permanent values. They are very, very good. So there you go. Then we've got the Schumann Concerto with other works, with the London Symphony and Uri Siegel. No one has ever cared about that recording. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that no one has ever cared about it particularly. All right, now we get serious. Now we've got the Mozart Concerto Cycle with the London Symphony, with Ashkenazy playing and conducting, and the Philharmonia. And let's see. Oh, you get the double concerto with Fu Song, second piano. And let's see. Oh, it's just all this stuff. It's with Philharmonia, London Symphony, Philharmonia, London Symphony, Philharmonia, Philharmonia. Mostly with the Philharmonia. And there's just endless quantities of Mozart, which is going to get us all the way up to CD 32 of 46. You see? And now, having done the Mozarts, we are at the phase that I call recapitulation. This is where we start getting remakes on remakes. And so these last 15 CDs or so, and the cat is scratching herself there. Hello, darling. Okay. But now we've got the Brahms Concerti with the Concertgebouw under Haitink. And I first of all, these were with the Vienna Philharmonic. Well, number one is with the Concertgebouw. Number two is with the Vienna Philharmonic. They're a little bit sleepy, and I chalked that up to Haitink, frankly. I think Ashkenazy would have been better if he'd had a conductor with a little more dynamism, at least at this stage in his career. I mean, again, they're okay. They're good. They're not my favorite Brahms, not by a million miles. Then we've got the Bartok concertos with Schulte and the Sonata for two pianos and percussion. Not a bad performance with his son, Wolfgang Ashkenazy, with the London Philharmonic. And these are very good Bartok concerti. They really are. And Schulte was nothing if not dynamic, and Ashkenazy plays them extremely well. And they were up there in the Bartok piano concerto competition, the sweepstakes. Then we get another Beethoven cycle with some other solo works. You get some bagatelles, Opus 126, and this one is with Zubin Mehta and the Vienna Philharmonic. It's a good cycle, but it's it's not better than his first one. I mean, I really don't think he brought some, shattering new insight to the music. So we don't need that. Then we get another Rachmaninoff cycle with Paganini Rhapsody. And again, this is with Haitink. And this is just, compared to the first one, it's just duller. Again, it's not terrible. It's just not as interesting as the first one. Some of you may like it better. What can I say? I don't think it's as interesting. And then we get another Beethoven piano concerto cycle. I mean, who needs this? Now I'm starting to get pissed at him. Why is he doing this? And he's playing and conducting the Cleveland Orchestra. You do get the choral fantasy, which wasn't included in the first one. I have to say, I really, really do think that Ashkenazy was a good conductor, pianist, and I enjoy hearing the Cleveland Orchestra in this music. I really do. There's nothing wrong with it. But I know we've talked about this before. Wait a minute. Let me see. The choral fantasy. What am I on? I'm on drugs. Never mind me. Yes, you get it with all the others. With Schulte, with Mehta, with Ashkenazy, with Haitink. You get 4 choral fantasies. God. I'm just looking at the index here. No, you get 1. What am I? That was the first concerto I was looking at. I'm so silly. All right, yes, only 1 choral fantasy. I was right. I should trust my own eyes. And ears, by the way, too, because I remember only hearing 1. But you never know. I mean, these things start to blur in your mind. And let me tell you something. When you get the blur, you know that the guys made too many recordings of the same music. But the Cleveland Orchestra plays wonderfully. And some of you have said that you really like this Cleveland set better than the Schulte set. You can like whichever one you want. That's not my point. Because like I said, the quality of them is all very high. The problem is, who needs 3 or 4 of them? All of them, the quality very high, and all of them roughly similar. I mean, I don't. And then you've got the Andre Previn Piano Concerto and Guitar Concerti. this is the only rather interesting sort of off-the-beaten-track repertoire thing that he did. It really is. And then let's see, what else have we got here? Chopin Piano Concerto No. 1. This is disc 46. Glazounoff's Chopiniana Ballet, which is nice to have. And Franck's Les Djinns. Well, that's really nice. Now, Ashkenazy has done some other off-the-beaten-path repertoire. I mean, he did the Radovara Third Piano Concerto that was written for him and recorded it with Ondine. There's other stuff floating around out there, but it isn't on Decca. And we get 2 bonus DVDs. There's 2 Beethoven concerts, which, let's see, what do you get here? Leonora Overture No. 2, and Piano Concerto No. 1, and Symphony No. 8, and Piano Concerto No. 2. And then on DVD 2, Piano Concerto No. 3, Egmont Overture, Piano Concerto No. 4, Piano Concerto No. 5, Emperor Concerto with Haitink and the London Phil. I mean, okay, so what's that? 4 complete Beethoven concerto cycles with the same guy? I mean, I think that's nuts. I really do. I understand that pianists today run around playing the same limited repertoire of works, but there's a lot of other wonderful music for piano and orchestra that Ashkenazy could have recorded because he was a big name. He had the weight, he had the cachet, and I think he should have done that. So the question becomes, having gotten through all 46 CDs and 2 bonus, and I use the term advisedly, bonus DVDs, do you want this? What's the point? I honestly can't give you an answer. Like I said, if you're an Ashkenazy fan, then yeah, this is nice to have. But, you know, why on earth do you want to have 46 CDs of this stuff when so many of them are redundant? I think it is just one of those existential questions that each one of you will have to answer for yourself. I can't do it for you. I can't argue with the quality of the results, but I also can't justify the duplication. I can't. It's just one of those things. You'll have to make up your own mind. I can tell you that, generally speaking, the quality is worth it. But, I mean, you know, how many times are you going to listen to the same guy do the Emperor Concerto? Too many times for me. I'd rather hear somebody else after the first couple at least. And that's just how I feel about it. So keep on listening, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.